Well, they closed down the mill and they closed down the mine. They said you can't work but pay your taxes on time. Got 3 little babies gonna starve to death or freeze. We started making white lightning, it was Grandpa's recipe. Run, rebel, run to nowhere. Run, rebel, run to the Scott County Jail.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Jailhouse Informant. Finally, we're back in the studio together. I know we've had a couple weeks where we've been separate, but you are locked in for the next hour with myself and my wonderful co-host, Dr. Christy Sumner.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We have an amazing show, an amazing guest. I've been very excited to talk to this guest that we have on tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of history from the location, a lot of paranormal activity from the location. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. This has been a wonderful series. I mean, we've gone to jails in Georgia, Florida. Last week we were in Fauquier County in Virginia. We've been traveling all over and looking forward. We've got some really great locations lined up for the next little bit that we're going to be sharing the history and paranormal activity at some of these jails all the way around the country, hoping to maybe go international here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We reached out to a couple international jails, so be on the lookout for that. As Miranda said, it's really something that's exciting, right? To learn about these different jails, how they operated, some of their infamous inmates or their famous inmates. The one tonight is going to be a lot of fun to talk about, and then really to hear the paranormal claims as well. So kind of building that network of different jails around the country, maybe help with some of the preservation efforts to get some tourists there and stuff. So like I said, we're really excited about this series.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch last week's, we were able to do a virtual tour at the Fauquier jail. And that's what's so fun about a lot of these shows is that each of them are different. Some of them, the people are live on the location. Others, we get to actually do some virtual tours or just have a really good conversation with these guys that are painting an awesome picture of what their location is like, how it's ran. And they're each ran different, but bringing new life and new purpose to these older locations, which is just fantastic. And we're really enjoying doing.
Yeah, absolutely. But as Miranda said, we are sitting live at the historic Scott County Jail in Huntsville, Tennessee right now. And we have a lot of stuff that is going on right now. We're wrapping up our February flashlight tours. We'll be jumping into our March flashlight tours next week. Very excited about that. And we've got our Tag the Cell campaign that's going on. So if anybody missed the picture of our little celly bean yesterday that we shared, Miranda's going to pull that up real quick.
Yeah, bear with me a minute. Yeah. I'm having to pull multiple things up at one time.
Yeah, but we did post a little picture of Sally, and she does say that you do not need to be a professional artist or anything to participate in our Tag the Cell campaign. What we're doing is, for those of you who have not heard about this, when the jail was given to the town of Huntsville in 2017, a tourism grant actually paid for repainting of the jail. And so all of the graffiti in all of our cells was painted over. So what we want to do is bring some of that graffiti back, and it can be a painting, it can be a poem, it can be a song lyric, whatever you want. And what we're doing is we're posting these canvases all over the jail cell so people can look at community art in the county jail. So that's kind of what we want to do to help bring some community awareness to the building, as well as some highlighting some of our community artists. So if you want to participate in our Tag the Cell campaign, let us know. You can order a canvas online or come to the jail and pick it up.
Yeah, we had a lot of folks asking as to whether you had to be local to do this. You absolutely don't, because there's some amazing artists all around the country that we are very excited to have their art posted here in the jail. So we do have that on the website. If you go onto our website under the our online store, that I think that's actually one of the second options that's up there. And so that cost actually includes the shipping that we'll send to you. And so all you have to do is take that, put your art on it, ship it back to us, and then we'll put it there in the jail. And if you want it shipped back to you, just make note on that and just reach out and talk to us, and we'll make sure that we get that set up. So very exciting program. We've got a couple of those canvases on back in, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also the escape room going strong. We posted several pictures over the last little bit this month. We kind of really heavied up on the after dark tours this month with our flashlight tours, our guided ghost hunts, paranormal investigations, and escape rooms. Now in March, it won't be the first weekend in March, but in March, we will be transitioning back to our normal business hours, which are 5 days a week. Also, we'll be having some really exciting announcements. I know we've been talking about this since January, but these things take time.
More time than we anticipated.
These things take time if you want to do it right. And we've got some very exciting things for paranormal investigators that, is again, we can't say a whole lot about just yet, but that's coming up. Also, people who are history enthusiasts that want to come to the area, true crime enthusiasts. So we've got a couple really cool big announcements that we're going to be making here very, very soon, as soon as we've had a lot of meetings over the last month. So hopefully we'll be doing that here very soon. And announcing our tours there for March. You said those will probably be up this week?
Yep, they'll be up this week. So we're moving into Women's History Month. So our flashlight tours will be themed toward women. And I've got some very cool stories here. We did this last year, and it was a pretty good success. So strong women here in Scott County that had an impact through the history of Scott County. So we'll be highlighting those during our flashlight tours in March.
Yeah. And then also, again, we do have dates open for the remainder of the year of our paranormal investigations. So definitely want to go and get yours booked. Those dates do book up toward the end of the year. We do suggest if you want something in September and October, go ahead and reach out. Our calendar is completely open. It's all a book online system. So you want to do that. And then we've also got some motorcycle events that are coming up. We've got the dates and times set on those. We're going to have our Blessing of the Bikes, which is going to be on April 15th. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So bring your motorcycle out here. The Christian Motorcyclist Association, or the CMA, out of Jacksboro, our neighboring community. They're going to be riding up here. They've got some great blessings and great things that they do with the Blessing of the Bikes. So you'll be able to come here to the jail. We hope to have a food truck and, have some different things going on that day specifically. So if you're a motorcyclist, come and this is the first local Blessing of the Bikes that we have in the area. This is actually the second annual that we've done. And so it's the first one that's here in the area, and we're really excited about that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We've got a lot of great people over here in the chat room. So thank you for joining us. But you're going to be really excited about our guest tonight. We've got Sandy from Crown Point, Indiana, and she's going to be talking about her jail and the history of it and the paranormal aspects of it as well. So everybody, please welcome Sandy.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing tonight?
Inviting me, guys.
Absolutely. I've been excited to speak to you for several weeks now, well, ever since I reached out to you, just because in researching these jails and knowing the history of some of them, or just scratching the surface of some of the history of your jail, I've really been looking forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, it's really neat how a lot of the jails that were built about the same time, they're like sister jails, and they all had a different journey that they took, based on the community they were in. Mm-hmm. So it is really cool to hear about other jails.
Absolutely. So tell us where your jail is located and kind of the timeline of when it was built and stuff like that.
So we're the Old Lake County Jail in Crown Point, Indiana, and it was built in 1882. And in 1909, they built an addition on. It was originally 10 cells, 6 for men, 4 for women. In 1909, they built an addition. And then in 1928, they built another addition. So as it stands now, it's 3 floors and over 150 cells.
Oh, wow.
And like a lot of jails that were built at that time, the sheriff's house was attached. So by law, it had to be adjacent to the jail.
Okay.
So the sheriff's house is 2-story. There's 4 bedrooms upstairs with a 5th one in the back where the prison matron could live with the family. And and then there's like a warden's apartment on the back.
Okay.
So you would have like the warden on the back, the sheriff on the front, the jail in between, which was kind of the setup. And I've seen a lot of jails like ours that never expanded past the 10 cells. Like Blackford County Jail in Hartford City, Indiana. That's like a sister jail, and they look so much alike. It's kind of creepy, but they're actually the 10 cells original.
Wow. Yeah, I honestly, I did not know it was that big. Now, was each cell, did they accommodate several inmates, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, or what was the capacity of inmates at that point?
Well, it was supposed to be about 200, 250. Wow. But a lot of times it would get up to 500. There were points in history where they would do sweeps for illegal immigrants, and they would pick them all up and drop them off at the jail to await deportation. So they could drop off anywhere from 200 to 300 illegal immigrants and just leave them in there with the inmates.
Wow.
So when you look at like the, how many people were in there, you're going to see high numbers, but sometimes they weren't all inmates.
Right.
Okay.
But overcrowding was a huge issue, just like any other jail out there. Overcrowding is always an issue.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And we're looking at some pictures here now. It's a beautiful facility. Is that all brick?
Yeah, that's the house that we're looking at.
Okay.
I'm in the room to the right there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, to the left of your screen. So that's like the living room. There's a front parlor, dining room. The kitchen was shared between the jail and the house.
Okay.
It's a huge kitchen, and there was a back staircase for the matron, private quarters, and then the big front staircase. So it was your typical county home.
Okay.
So it has some of the really cool features like the hardwood floors and all that stuff, which is all gone under restoration, but not the fancy Victorian you would see because it was a county home.
Okay. And so it was an operation, we were talking a little bit beforehand, it was an operation till, you said, the 1970s?
It officially closed down in 1975.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of sat vacant at that point?
It went up to auction, and there was a man who bought this building, and next door to us is the criminal courts building. He bought that, and he bought the boiler house in the back. And in the boiler house, he created a speakeasy. So you could come in and you would feel like you were sitting in Dillinger's cell. But what he did was take bars and bricks and stuff from our building over there and left this one to kind of rot.
Oh.
So yeah, there was a lot of damage from the elements here when they first took it over. So as you guys probably know too, half of what you bring in fundraising and stuff goes to structural work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Preservation.
Always. It's the biggest money pit ever,
And, that's what a lot of people don't understand. They just kind of think that these buildings are sitting there and, by the grace of God, they're standing, and by the grace of God, they are standing, but it does take a lot of work and effort and preservation efforts to keep them standing.
Yeah. And it's one thing after another. Once you fix one issue, you're like, okay, let's move on to the next,
Yeah. And then sometimes you got to circle back to issue number 1.
Oh yeah. A couple times.
So you're the people who take care of the jail, you all are a not-for-profit and volunteers, correct?
Yeah. We're a Restoration Preservation Foundation. So there's 9 of us on the board. And we're privately owned. So we don't get like funds from the city or anything. We fundraise, we get grants when we can. And we have like a huge haunted house every year. So that's our biggest fundraiser. And that is a blast. to know that it's haunted while you're running a haunted house in it.
Mm-hmm.
We had actors leave because of what happens to them while they're back in the cell.
I love it.
Funny.
Yeah, it looks like, in looking over the notes, I mean, you all do a lot of different fundraising efforts to keep the jail in the shape that it's in and make it accessible to the community.
Yeah, I have amazing people around me. And I come up with the weirdest ideas. And I'm like, hey, we could do this. And everybody's like, yeah, let's do it. So I have this huge support team around me. And the paranormal community has been such a huge blessing to us, a huge support. We wouldn't be where we are without the paranormal community. And we've been running hunts going on 11 years.
Wow.
And we have so many groups out there that'll say, hey, anything you need, call us. We'll be there. You know, so if you want to have like a big cleanup day, you could put the all call out there, and that's who would answer, is the paranormal teams.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize the paranormal teams do a huge amount of research on the buildings they go to.
Absolutely.
And they learn the history and they respect the history, and they even find out stuff I didn't know and come tell me about it,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love it.
So let's backtrack just a little bit. And so when you said you've been with the organization for 15 years?
14 years.
14 years.
And
so
for 4.
Okay. And so had you always had a belief in the paranormal and also a want for historic preservation? Is that how you got involved with this?
Yeah, I was that weird kid that always went to the library and got books on like Loch Ness monsters and Cyclops and like anything weird. I just wanted to see like the pictures and read about it, So I was a huge believer that all this stuff was out there and it was all real, And, like I was telling you, when I had my own children, I would take them to graveyards with me, and we'd walk around and talk to ghosts. And my kids are all normal, thank God. But it's always a thing. And in her later years, my mom had come live with me. And every Wednesday night, she would be like, it's ghost hunters night. Because I started watching Ghost Hunters, the TV show, from like the beginning, because I was like, oh, there's people like me, because they were all like chill and, and they were doing what I wanted to do so much, and so it was a thing. My mom would be like, oh, Ghost Hunters is on.
Oh, I love your mom.
Yeah, so it's a nice memory to have of her, so yeah.
Yeah. And so, I just kind of want to back up just a little bit on the history and just say just how impressed I am with the fact that you guys have so much of your history out here on the side, everything from listing all of your sheriffs out there to some of the most infamous inmates that you had, and then just some of the significant events that happened. You all have done an amazing job with sharing this and preserving this history.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm jumping your agenda here, but I found a new inmate that's not on there. He will be joining that soon. I didn't know this guy had been here. Okay. And he was like big time Chicago gangster, right? He was a rival to Al Capone. His name was Frank McErlean.
Okay.
He introduced the Tommy gun to Chicago. He was a bull runner. He was the first one to kill someone with a Tommy gun in Chicago, right?
Wow.
So he comes into Crown Point and he's sitting there at the bar drinking with his friends, and his friends are like, man, we don't think you're a sharpshooter. And he goes, really? Shoots the guy at the end of the bar. Well, the guy at the end of the bar is a Crown Point attorney.
Oh,
right. Big name in Crown Point. Well, they just go back to Chicago. Took months to get him back here. And then, crazy enough, the 2 witnesses, one ends up shot dead in the car and the other face up in a frozen river.
Of course.
So the guy's acquitted. But he was insane. This guy ended up going mentally insane. Literally, he was a horrible alcoholic, him and his wife. He ended up shooting her and her 2 dogs. He gets pneumonia. He ends up in the hospital. Capone sends 2 guys in to kill him in the hospital. He's got a gun under his pillow, pulls the gun out, starts shooting them. He didn't die. But then he goes on, gets pneumonia really bad, and starts seeing demons and these spirits that are coming after him, and ends up dying this horrible, death from pneumonia. But in the newspaper articles I was researching, it said, if you want to see Frank McErlean, he is in cell number 10 at the Lake County Jail. And
cool.
All I got to do is find cell number 10 because I know what year he was here. This was all in like 1925.
Okay.
And so I know what year he was here. But then he threw a fit about his constitutional rights, trampled on because they put him in solitary confinement. And I'm like, we only have like 7 solitary confinement cells. He had to be in one of those.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out where this guy was, and then, not to promote anybody or anything. I find this book. Whoops. Somebody actually wrote a whole book on Frank McErlean, right? And I'm
That's awesome.
I'm like, this is amazing. I've got somebody that likes this guy too. So I'm going to read this book, but it's amazing that he was here and that Chicago's history is still linked with us. We're like 45 minutes from Chicago.
Okay.
So in gangster days, there was a lot of back and forth. This is where they come to chill,
Yeah. And I love that era. I mean, the gangster era to me was just fascinating. You've got all of these, and we'll talk about John Dillinger here in a minute. You've got all of these outlaws essentially who are just glorified by the media and by the public, obviously until they start killing multitudes of people. But these were the modern day Robin Hoods, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing all this stuff, but I absolutely love that era, and the fact that you're just immersed in it to me is so cool.
Well, even the politics were crazy. That was when they formed the FBI. You know what I mean? To get these guys, that's why it was formed.
Exactly.
Because these guys were getting so notorious and nobody was catching them.
Yeah.
So I mean, just the politics of the time. And when Dillinger came here, Roy Hawley had been the sheriff, and he was shot and killed in a property dispute. So his wife, Lillian, was asked to finish his term of office.
Wow.
And we had some county cops here on a tour, and they were telling me that law is still in the books, that if a sheriff is killed in the line of duty, his wife can finish his term of office.
Wow.
But in 1933, that's unheard of. A female sheriff. She was the first female sheriff in Indiana. At the time, and she had just been, she'd been the matron alongside her husband. So she took care of inmates. She knew the running of the jail, but just so happened now she's the sheriff when Dillinger gets here, so she's got all this pressure on her anyway of people saying you're just a woman, a lot of pressure. She did have good people around her, but there were bad people around her too, all giving her their advice.
Of course.
So like when he first got here, they took him to 3rd floor Federal.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want me to go through the whole kind of.
Sure.
Yeah, go
Absolutely.
for it.
Well, he had committed a bank heist in East Chicago, which is Lake County. It's still in our county. And when he came out of the bank, he was using the bank manager as a human shield. And Detective William Patrick O'Malley was the first one on scene. He decided he had a clear shot at Dillinger. He took it. Dillinger had been wearing a bulletproof vest. So it didn't get him, but he returned fire. Now, Dillinger will tell you that he didn't. His partner Hamilton did, but there were like 13 witnesses there that day that said Dillinger was the one that fired. And Detective O'Malley was killed that day. Well, they all got away. They end up in Tucson, Arizona. The hotel they're staying in catches on fire. They try to bribe a fireman with like $15 to bring their bags out. Well, that tipped the firemen off, and they figured out, oh, he's Dillinger, So they had him for the bank robbery, but Indiana wanted him for murder.
Of course.
But Indiana didn't have the money to get him back here. So that's when the press they came in and they said, well, we'll pay half. We get an exclusive when he gets here. So they agreed.
Wow.
Well, they got him on a plane into Chicago. And the crazy thing is he was the first convict to be transported my partner in crime's here, transported by plane. You know, it just wasn't done. It was always by train or car. So they get him to Chicago, they bring him here, and sorry.
Hey, Jackie.
Like,
No worries.
so they get their exclusive here, you know, and they take him to the 3rd floor federal where he stayed for like a week. Somebody made the decision to bring him to the 1st floor. And my thing was, there's your inside person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who made the decision? But then I find out it was Lillian, Holly, and the warden. So was the warden on the take? I don't think Lillian was. She didn't need that, you know. So I don't know, but I mean, as long as we've been here, I believe it was an inside job. I do.
Definitely.
Yeah, some of the stuff that I've been reading about it as well makes it seem like an inside job. Because wasn't his lawyer, Dillinger's lawyer, in on this as well to some extent? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, there's going to be a book coming out, not from me, but so Lily and Holly's car was returned to us because Dillinger stole it when he left, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So after all this time, it was found. They matched the serial numbers. They restored it. They brought it back to Crown Point. Actually, Josh Gates brought it back to Crown Point and filmed for Discovery. What's the name of his show? Anyway,
Expedition X, I think.
yeah, Expedition Unknown.
Unknown.
Yeah. So they filmed for that. I can't get in the frame. Hi. So they filmed it all, you know, and everything, but lost my train.
That there's a book coming out. They found the car.
Yes. Okay. So the guy that found the car and restored it, he's writing a book. He actually has proof that the lawyer smuggled the gun into Dillinger. So we'll see.
Wow.
You know what the proof is and what's going on with that. But Lily and Holly swore that because she was a Democrat, the Republicans smuggled the gun in to make her look bad, which just tells me that politics has never changed, will never change.
No.
And it's all the same.
Yeah.
But she was an amazing woman. She finished her term. She went on. She stayed in Crown Point, and she did a lot of work around the city and everything. And she lived till she was 103 years old. She died at like 93.
That's fantastic. Good for her.
Yeah. She's an amazing woman. One of my idols.
Heck of a history.
Yeah, we have a similar history with that with one of our residents. His mother or his grandmother was she ended up finishing out her husband's term. He died when he was in the line of duty, and so she finished it, but it's in the neighboring community. It's not at our jail. But he ended up moving here and became a senator and a long family history. But it's amazing when you do hear those stories of these strong females that step into those roles. And it almost always seems like they step in a time when there's something crazy happening, like Dillinger or just after the Civil War or something of that nature. It's always really interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
So is the car on y'all's property now? Is it at the jail?
No, it's the craziest thing. We don't have a place to put it. You know, where it would be safe and protected. So it's in a museum in Auburn, Indiana right now on display. You know, we're looking toward the future, trying to figure it out because they do want it here. But we just got to figure out what to do, you know, how to make that work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now when the jail closed and you said it sat vacant and then your organization started bringing it back to life and preservation efforts, what was the response of the community as a whole, your neighbors and such in the area? Were they really receptive to bringing it back and what you're doing there now?
In the beginning, no, absolutely not. There was a handful of people that understood the historic significance of it. But the majority of Crown Point, you don't talk about Dillinger, you don't talk about the jail, none of it. This building, even now, Crown Point people come here and don't even realize this was ever a jail.
At one point, there was talks of tearing down the back half of the jail and turning it into a parking lot.
Wow.
Moving Dillinger's cell up.
What an awful idea.
Right.
What an awful idea. I mean, that is just, I mean, this jail here, obviously you have some people that are like, it represented the worst of who we were, but that's the purpose of a jail, right? It's to show that the community has law and order. And so for people that would think that turning a jail into a parking lot is a good idea, that's asinine.
Right.
Yeah, but you know how cities change over time and they grow, and we're in the middle of the city. The way that they built it, we're the hub of Lake County. So the jail, the criminal courts building, and the big courthouse, we're all downtown. And they want to have more parking, for their restaurants and their bars and all this other stuff that they put in all the other historical buildings. So we're kind of like in their way.
Wow.
And that's
We're
just
happily in their way.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. Yeah. Good for you guys.
And that's progress. It happens in every city.
Yeah.
But then there's a handful of people that will fight.
Good for you. Now, is it on the National Register of Historic Places?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And Indiana landmarks are very good to us.
Yeah.
They just got us a grant not long ago to replace the steel ceiling panels in Dillinger's cell block, which is amazing, and it's another step forward. So.
Absolutely.
And I was kind of listening to you guys with all your events and stuff, and we kind of do the same. We do our escape rooms and murder mysteries, and one time we decided just to play hide and go seek. So we threw it out there on Facebook. You get 20 minutes to hide, we get 10 minutes to find you. People don't realize jails don't have hiding spaces.
That's a quick way to learn.
Yeah, and we came out in our full Halloween costumes and chainsaws and hunted you.
So when somebody comes to take a tour of the jail, what can they expect? Do they get access to the jailer's home as well as the actual jail itself whenever they come to take a tour, and then also whenever they come to do an investigation?
I guess they're a little different. So our regular daytime tours are Saturdays from May to September from 10 to 1.
Okay.
And if they're $5, they're 40 minutes. You can do the house, Dillinger's cell block, and the big cell block on the second floor where they shot some of the movie Public Enemies. So that's kind of like that tour.
Okay.
Ghost hunters get full access to the entire house and jail. And they're private hunts. We don't do a lot of public ones. We do some. But if you book, then it's just you and your team, and we kind of take you on a little walk through, talk a little bit, and then bye-bye, go have fun.
Nice.
And how long do they get that for?
It's 9 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Well, Jackie, we didn't really have a chance to introduce you.
Sorry.
No, hey, that's okay. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your association with the jail?
I came to the jail about 7 years ago. I don't know, 6 or 7.
I thought 6. I don't
know. Because my son he was doing his community service hours here for school, and he was doing the haunted house. So he kind of forced me into coming up with him one day, and it's not my thing at first. And then I walked in, and this place is just phenomenal, and it just grabs a hold of you. And the minute I walked in the door, I'm like, oh, wow, this is awesome. So, and I've never left, and now I'm vice president of the board. So I'm stuck for a long time, but that's
for you.
We have noticed, though, it does grab certain people.
Yeah.
It won't.
Some people can come in and not be affected really. They think it's a cool place, but it's then others like us, you walk in and it's I didn't even get really in the door. I was standing in the little foyer and I was like, oh my God, my son was like, I told you. He was I knew you would like it. So it's awesome.
Now, did you have any interest in paranormal before you started working here, or?
Yeah, I've always been interested in it. My husband and I used to watch, all the ghost hunting shows, and I would always tell him, I'm like, one day, like, that's what I'm going to do. So now we joke and I say I'm living the dream.
Well, you kind of are, right?
I am.
For those in the community. Now, do you guys?
Awesome building to play in, and I get to ghost hunt and meet a ton of people, and
And you can't beat the adrenaline rushes.
No,
When you
they
get
scare
scared.
the heck out of us a lot.
Now, we have a lot of it happen here during the day where we'll hear something while we're working or something like that. Does that happen to y'all?
Oh
Yeah.
We have to tell them sometimes, like if we're just coming up to clean or, to do a project, we'll go in, we'll be like, all right, guys, not today. We're here to work.
Yeah.
You can help clean something if you need to, but other than
They
that,
don't.
leave us alone.
They don't
They don't.
clean for us.
No.
Yeah, ours generally just take our working tools. We've had scissors go missing, a razor blade that Miranda found we still can't find, and that's been a year now. So
It'll be like random. We'll be working in a room and all of a sudden all the metal chairs stacked on the wall just fall.
Yeah.
They've been sitting there for weeks and now they're, it's like random stuff like that.
Awesome. Now, do y'all have your own paranormal teams? Do you investigate other locations or just your jail primarily?
I used to go to more locations. We're kind of like the jail crew, but not really, we're not like a team. And if we get a chance to go somewhere, we try, but we're stuck here.
Yeah.
And not that we mind, but we're here a lot.
Yeah.
We're here every weekend. We have to be here with each group every weekend.
Yeah, we
Like
stay.
the private hunts, we stay because we need to keep an eye on our building. But so we're here.
That's us as well. Same thing.
Yeah.
Now, are you all pretty well booked up most weekends?
I think like May and April are gone. I think there's like one weekend left in June. August looked okay. September, it's going quick.
Mainly Fridays are open now.
Yeah.
All the Saturdays are taken for the whole season.
We do have a calendar on the webpage that you can see any open availability and then just email us to book it.
Okay.
Very cool. And you have someone that commented earlier. I saw it on the screen. Tim Coomer. I think you know Tim too.
Yes, we do.
Well, he'll tell you like this is his like second home too. It got Tim. You know what I mean? So the jail likes Tim too. So.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He hasn't investigated our jail yet, Tim. But
sorry, Tim. I kind of got you called out there.
He's been here. He took a day tour, but he hasn't investigated yet. So hopefully soon.
No.
Yeah, he's a really good guy.
We've met some amazing people.
Yep.
So you guys provided us some really cool pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and pop those up on the screen. If you wouldn't mind sharing some of the stories and some of the captures behind these pictures. I'm going to pull these up. Let's see here. Make sure I pull up the right one. There we go. So what's the story behind some of these?
So this one is in a cell block we call graffiti. It's one of the criminal cell blocks where there was 4 to a cell and a day room, very crowded, conditions. We were all standing there. We did not see this with our eyes. I was taking pictures because the K2 meters were all going off if you held them up high. So this is at the top of that day room there.
Okay.
Didn't see it with our eyes, but that's what was coming out on the film.
Wow.
Now, do you have power in those cells?
Not in those.
ones.
Okay.
The back half
Very
of
cool.
the jail doesn't have any electricity run to it anymore.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I have no idea what that is. Just
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good capture.
Oh, this is a good one.
yeah. So this is the tunnel that connects the 1909 edition to the 1928. So at the end of that, when you turn to the right, is Dillinger's. So he was in the 1929 edition when he came in 34. That was one of those. There's a steel door that shuts that off. And it was one where we pulled the door open and just started taking shots like quickly.
Oh, wild.
And I have a couple other photos with that same thing, but in different positions, a little smaller, but it's something that's kind of always there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's the tunnel where if we, go lights out and line up along the walls in there, sometimes like when you turn your head, there'll be like a face in your face.
Right in your face.
Oh, well, that's startling.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll wake you up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you able to pick out any distinguishing features from the face?
Like when you
I
turn your
don't
head
know.
and see.
It's just your brain registers face.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
You kind of like jump back, like, whoa, I didn't realize you were so close. And then you're like, oh, you're
Yeah.
not that
You're
close.
not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Wild.
Oh, I got this cool story.
Yeah.
On that tunnel one.
Mhm.
Okay, so a couple years ago, 2 of my friends were doing like the pilot for their show. They were gonna have a new show, right? And they were like, we need to come in on this night. And I was going to a Limp Bizkit concert, but I know these guys. I'm like, yeah, I'll leave the key. You guys go in and do your thing. Well, they were bringing in a medium psychic from Chicago. They were kind of doing like a seance thing or whatever for the show. And I guess he didn't want to come in to begin with. He kept saying, no, I don't really want to go in. He had drove all the way here. They got him to come in. He went to the end of that tunnel. He threw his arms up and said, I am your vessel. I don't know why. Freaked out completely. He freaked out, ran out of here, jumped off the front porch face first into the grass. Glasses went flying, ran up and down the street screaming that they were trying to kill him. So I'm at the Limp Bizkit concert. It's pouring rain, big thunderstorms, and they start sending me pictures of ambulances and fire trucks. And I'm like, oh my God, what'd you do? They're like, it's okay now. But when I got back, yeah, he just freaked out. And it was so like crazy that they didn't even film it. They like put their cameras down because they had no idea what was going on, right? Police, fire, everything. So after that, I always felt like this man was haunting the place. Every time I would go down the tunnel, I'd like replay that in my mind. So about a year or 2 after that had happened, I called him, and I'm like, hey, I know this is crazy, but what happened to you? What happened, because he refused to talk to those guys ever again. And he's like, why are you calling me 2 years later? I'm like, because you're haunting my place. What happened? And, he gave this story about missing time and all this stuff. And we talked for a while. And then he asked if him and his partner could come back during the day sometime. And I said, absolutely. And then he like died 2 weeks after that phone call. And I was like, yeah, wow. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to him.
Do you still think he's haunting it?
No, I don't feel that now.
Hmm.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah. Wow. That is wild.
There's like a lot of theories out there that you can haunt places before you die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your
No, absolutely.
energy.
No, absolutely.
So maybe because it was like a traumatic thing that happened to him at that point, I was just like feeling that energy again and again,
Wow. That is insane. It's a great story. Now, do you ever find, because we get it a lot here. Have you found your building or the spirits in your building actually tell you things that you didn't know about it? Have you ever had that happen?
Anne told you that you were telling her story wrong.
Oh, yeah. We had an inmate in the 1920s, Anne Cunningham. She had killed 3 of her children with arsenic. She tried to hang herself while she was here. It was this crazy, crazy thing. She might have been the first serial killer in Indiana, actually.
Wow.
But when I first met my sister, the one I was telling you is a medium from my birth family, we brought her here. Now, we had just met, so we were in there and I'm telling Anne's story. Well, I had said she killed 4 of her children. And my sister's looking at me going, no, she says you're lying. And I'm like, no, I read the newspaper article. She killed 4 of her children. And she goes, nope, she said you're lying. She says you're lying. So I went and get the newspaper article and she only killed 3.
Wow.
I was wrong.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was weird validation because my sister, who I just met, didn't know anything about it. Or the jail and, or the story. And here Anne's spirit was correcting me.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing because you've got a couple of things, right? You've got the fact that it's intelligent, that she's hearing you tell these stories. It's validation that she is there and she's hearing the stories, and it also validates your sister and her abilities.
Yeah.
So that's a heck of a story.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I think Miranda's pulling up another one. There we go. That's a great picture.
Now, that's third floor juvenile. And, and I'm saying this kind as possible. The man you see in the photo was unfortunately killed in a freak accident at work not long after this was taken.
Wow.
He was a friend of ours, and we miss him. But again,
yeah,
I don't know.
That's interesting because it looks like I'm not sure how many else. I see three different things going on there.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you can look at it and say, well, dust, but
to me, it's a little bit different than dust. I've never seen dust behave like that, and it looks much larger than just dust. That one on the right almost looks about the size of his leg.
Yeah, and you're seeing vertical,
right?
Not like a horizontal dust pattern,
right?
We're seeing more of the vertical. Now that area, it's funny because Jackie and I never get anything up there. They don't talk to us. But groups that come in, this is their favorite area.
They love it.
They get so much activity up there.
Wow.
And they don't talk to us at all.
Now, how long was it a juvenile? Since the jail's construction, was it a juvenile facility or area or?
I believe it was from the beginning, and then somewhere in the 1950s they built a juvie center.
Okay.
So then this area became more for like the druggies and alcoholics.
Okay.
So yeah, it kind of has a mixed history, and people have brought stuff up there and left it, like little cars and toys and balls and stuff. And we tell people, just, if something's messing with you, it might not be a kid.
Right.
It might be one of those druggies or alcohol.
Right. Wow. That's a great picture.
There is some sadness in that area, though. There was some corruption in the jail, like all jails, and mistreatment. So
do you have documented deaths or suicides and stuff like that, natural causes in the jail?
I am a huge newspapers.com person.
Atta girl.
Yeah, I have my subscription, whatever. But
likewise,
they have tons of inmate cards here, original inmate cards. So I take the cards, plug it in, and find my articles. We have like binders full of articles about all these inmates. And then some of the cards are marked deceased, and some of them you find the articles, and we had a guy set himself on fire. He was an arsonist, set himself on fire. Yeah, the guy that's on our webpage, James First Salmons, him and another guy, John Lynch, committed this murder in 1915. They killed a saloon keeper, and they were back here in like 1917. And John Lynch was the one going for the murder. And he kept saying, yeah, Salmons did it. Get Salmons. And, finally he said, okay, I did it. And then he asked for a razor to shave before he went to see the judge. And he slit his throat ear to ear, So like we have some really detailed stories. But then we have, died in his cell.
Gotcha.
And that's it. Like, you don't know what happened.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I mean, like we have found so much. And now when the jail closed, they had like this auction, and they auctioned off the log books, like everything, to just people, but we've been having people bring stuff back.
Oh, good.
So now we have log books from like 1907, 1910, the original log books.
That's awesome.
So fun for us. Yeah.
Well, very cool. It's great that people in the community are actually doing that.
Yeah. We got riot sticks. I want to get some of that phosphorin. What's it called? The stuff the cops use to show blood.
Oh, yeah.
Luminol.
Yes. And our police department, I took the Citizens Police Academy. But they said when that expires, they just throw it away. And I asked them if I could have the expired stuff,
Yeah.
And I don't know, as morbid as it is, I just want to know,
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's absolutely very cool. I wish we could get some here, do some interesting experiments.
I mean, we'd probably have cells that would glow like a Christmas tree, and you'd be like, "What the hell happened here?" Like, we're not going to bother you guys. But when the next group comes in, we're like, "Hey, if you want an experience, go in there."
Shine your black light on our luminol.
Right. So this is a typical cell block in the criminal floor. So 4 to a cell, your toilet, your sink. Wow. And this is what Dillingers look like. This is not Dillingers though, but this is
Looks like graffiti.
yeah, this is what Dillingers look like. So typical cell block. There's nothing paranormal going on in there, just kind of an idea of what you're hunting when you come here to ghost hunt. You're in there.
Gotcha.
It's pretty raw, original.
So it looks like an internal cell there. Were there any cells that had windows at all?
No.
Wow.
No, there's guard walks outside of those cells where the windows are.
Okay.
So we're looking in. So there's a barred door that would close there, and the light would come through the bars, unless you were in a solitary confinement cell. And then the big steel doors close. But no, that's it. That's where you stay.
Goodness.
Was that typically what they held, was 4 inmates? I mean, unless there was overcrowding issues.
Well, only in the criminal cell blocks where it was at 4. In general population, it was 2. But somebody came here in the 1960s and did a newspaper article and took photos and everything. So cell blocks like this typically have 6 cells, 4 to a cell in a day room. And the newspaper article said there were 55 men in just that cell block.
Goodness.
Wow.
Yeah. So overcrowding.
Definitely overcrowding.
Yeah.
And this is the big cell block where they shot some of the movie Public Enemies. So this one has been painted. It looks nice. Nothing else in the jail looks like that.
Absolutely not.
But
it's awesome though.
This is where we're able to do, like, we've done some weddings. My son got married here. Yeah. And her son's going to be married.
Hey.
Yeah. So we've done some weddings. This is where like the escape rooms happen. It's our makeup room for the haunted house. Activity wise, this room, we get like the colored orbs that you see with your eyes. They're like pen lights.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they're different colors. You can see greens, reds, blues. I have no idea what that is. But it's pretty common in there.
And if you see, there's like closest to the camera, there's a bench against the bars there.
Yeah.
You can just barely see it. We'll have them we'll ask them to bang on the bench, and they've done that a good few times to scare the crap out of us.
Right. That's the way out. So we're at the far end. Hey, bang on the bench, and then they do, and we're like, "Oh, we're
now
screwed."
we're stuck.
That's our way out.
That's great. Bang on the bench and then move out of our way, please.
Right.
At the end of that cell block was a solitary confinement cell.
Okay.
And in 1957, we had George Brown, the Indiana Dunes Slayer, here. He killed 2 women, buried them out by the Gary Airport. The 16-year-old he buried alive. Well, him and 5 other men escaped, and they were in Dillinger's cell block, but it was 1957. They escaped, and they caught them all. And one of them, Arthur Raymond Carr, who had murdered his uncle, he was in that solitary confinement cell in that cell block because he carved his name into the wall.
Wow.
So we actually know where he went.
That is awesome. I'd love to have that type of stuff here.
Yeah.
Just that type of graffiti.
Yeah, well, yeah, we have some pretty explicit ones in there that we kind of keep covered. It's like you don't want to be known as the jail with the nudes, you know? And they're really good artists.
Yeah.
Like everything's anatomically correct. Yeah.
Yeah, we our jail was painted over completely in 2017, so we don't have any.
Yeah, I heard you mention that in your intro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Ouch.
yeah, it's a little different, but we're making ways around it, so that's good.
Yeah, they kept some of the clean, and then there's a few areas that you can see the deep carvings, like on the benches and stuff, and on some of the doors. But unfortunately, yeah, they removed that, and that's a real unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
We have coming up in April, we do a 2-day Northwest Indiana art show, and 30 artists come in here and set up, and we open it to the public to come in for like a big art show.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, we appreciate,
That's definitely a way to get the community in for sure.
It's really nice to hear that your community is involved. It's one to be envied.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a community involvement in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we try to make it fun and hit a lot of different interests.
Likewise.
Yeah, whether it's the architect, the history, the ghosts, like, you got to try and hit every different personality.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, was your jail, was it a county jail? Like, what was the typical sentence of an inmate there? Was it years, months?
It was supposed to be, if you were sentenced to more than 10 years or sentenced to death, you would be moved out to a state prison. But what we found in a lot of the research is they would sit here for 2-3 years before they even saw a judge.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, some people were here quite a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, ours is a little bit different. We have a county jail, so most inmates were here from 1 to 23 months. Anything after that, you'd go to a state facility.
I think that's what it was supposed to be, for a county. It's supposed to be more of a quick turnaround. But just because of the judicial system in this area and the delays in seeing judges and this and that, like you could sit here for years.
Wow. That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Or fortunate, whichever. Yeah. Way to teach a lesson, I guess. And looks like we got one more photo here. And so is this that tunnel you were talking about?
Yeah. And I was like, I think I caught that thing down there again.
At the end.
You can see that white down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the same tunnel. I threw it in for reference.
Okay.
They're like, we got your pictures. You sent 6 of them. And I'm like,
And so is that actually underground?
no.
Okay.
It is first floor, but it inclines up. So when you're outside, the windows look like there's second floor. But when you're inside, you're on the main floor.
Okay.
But it inclines up as you go down,
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, and like for Halloween, that whole tunnel is laser lights.
Yeah.
Like this whole laser light show as you're walking it. It's amazing. And this year we had actually put, or last year we put mirrors down it and had kids sing Bloody Mary.
Oh, nice. Nice. Do y'all come up?
It'll be fun.
Now, do y'all come up with the whole theme for the haunted house?
Oh yeah.
Good for y'all. Nicely done.
And build it. And we've gotten pretty good at power tools and plastering and floors. And we try to tackle as much as we think we can do without destroying everything,
Yeah.
Sometimes we call in professionals.
But you know what? You're out there doing it. And thank you both for doing that.
Oh, I mean, you guys too, we're all out here trying to make a difference and preserve history.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have both been just a delight to speak with tonight. And we're so excited about what you're doing, about your jail. Everybody over on the comments who's been there just really love it. So I know I'm going to make plans to get up there. Absolutely.
That'd be great. Just let me know when you're coming.
Yeah. That'd be a really cool trip, I think.
Yeah. And definitely we've got the website, we've got the email address, we've got the Facebook page, we've got all of that in the show notes, and we've been kind of pulling it up here on the page. So if folks do want to reach out to you to get more information or to book a paranormal investigation, what is the best way for them to do that?
Either through the website or crownpointjail@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you ladies make it out here, we could do like a live investigation.
Yeah,
That
we would
sounds
absolutely
great.
love that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. We
Absolutely.
go live and see which one of us screams first. It'll be us.
Well, good, because I can't scream.
Yeah.
You guys can laugh at us. We'll be like, toodles.
Oh, goodness. Well, listen, thank you both so much for what you're doing. And thank you both so much for being here tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to both of you.
No, thanks
You
for
too.
having
Thanks.
us, honestly.
Yep. So if you
Good
just hold.
luck with your jail and everything you guys are doing there too.
Well, thank you. We do appreciate that. Absolutely.
We'll keep in touch.
Yep. So if you just hold on for just a second, we're going to pull you off screen again, but we'll say a proper goodbye. So we'll just close up a few things
Bye
here.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
so
you,
much.
ladies.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Bye. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I love their enthusiasm. I love the fact that they are out there doing it and taking risks to get people in their jail. I think they really are people to emulate if you're looking for something. If you're into historic preservation, it looks like those two ladies are really on the ball with what they're doing.
Yeah, I just got to echo again, just seeing the list of things that they're doing for fundraisers. First off, those things take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of manpower, and it's hard to get that manpower and volunteers. And so the fact that they're doing all this, I mean, they're hosting their haunted house, their 5Ks, runs. We had, I think, the list of some of the stuff that they were doing in the show notes there in the intro, and it's just really impressive. And so that's the things that keeps the lights on. And I just can't say enough about the paranormal investigators, because that's what we see here, and it's really cool to see these other locations. I think out of all the locations that we've talked to over the last little bit, every one of them, that paranormal is what's been the driver. And that's just, it's beautiful to see. You know, it's really, the paranormal is really causing a rise in awareness of history and in awareness of the preservation and restoration of these locations. So to our paranormal investigators out there in the comments over here and in the chat room, thank you. Thank you for booking us. Thank you for booking these other locations, because that's truly one of the things that really, really keeps the doors open.
It does. And again, just a powerhouse business team there. So if you find yourself in Crown Point, stop by their jail, tell them hi if you take a day tour. But as to Miranda's point, if you're a paranormal investigation team, get up there, investigate this location. I know I'm gonna book it here sometime soon. Maybe not this year, but definitely next. But just again, to Miranda's point, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you for supporting us and what we're doing. And next week we visit another jail. I think we're headed out to Iowa.
No, next week we are actually going to. We're going to be visiting our neighbor just to the south of us in Morgan County.
Yeah, we're going to Morgan County.
We love Miss Jill Lazuka, and I hope I said that right. She has been such an amazing supporter of us. She is there with the Genealogical and Historical Society there in Morgan County, Tennessee. And so we actually, Christy and I, had the honor of being able to go over and visit what these ladies have done. This location, I think, has been open for about a year, and they've got a lot of great temporary exhibits as well as permanent ones there in Morgan County. And these two ladies, I mean, you can see they put their heart and soul into this. And so we're going to have Miss Jill on next week. She's going to be talking about Morgan County history, as well as their jail that they have there, and their Genealogical and Historical Society. So we're very, very excited that she's going to take the time to come on, and we'll be seeing her in a few days too.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of great jails out there. We're going to keep finding them and bringing them to you for our Jailhouse series. But again, thank you all for watching tonight. We really do appreciate all of the support.
Yeah. And something to so we're also trying to kind of squeeze in some other topics and some other guests in between some of that. And so one that we're going to be talking to, we're going to be interviewing him in March. We've got our calendar booked up through early April, but we're going to be interviewing him in March, and it's going to be a pre-recorded interview. If you guys have watched and followed what we're doing, Ben Fuller, who is now one of the #1 top Christian music artists, he filmed a video here, so he's going to come onto our podcast. And so we would love, since it's going to be a pre-recorded show, and we'll be putting more information about this coming soon, but if you've got some questions for Ben, because he's got an amazing story behind not only the video, but his rise to where he is today. So if you've got some different questions, we're going to be taking those questions and asking him about those, and we'll be re-showing that whenever we re-release the episode. So so that's coming up, as well as several other very, very interesting and cool jails over the next little bit. And like we said earlier at the top of the hour, our schedule is going to be coming out here for March. So you're going to want to get those dates booked, as well as book a guided ghost hunt with us as well. So.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We really do appreciate it. We hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.